Okay, Facebook, so here's the thing. We've been talking about relationships, and we've talked about the importance of respect, how we need to keep our communication accountable. But today, let's talk about two things that can be very deadly to our relationship. That's comparisons. You know that thing where you start to look at other relationships and you compare your person to somebody else's person, or you compare your relationship, just the whole thing, to somebody else's relationship. Here's why that's deadly. We can't live up to the standards of any other person. We just can't do it. And our person can't live up to the standard of somebody else because they're not them. They're not wired like them. And here's the other thing that we often don't see, where maybe that relationship struggles, where they have to put in more effort, where maybe you don't. We don't see the whole pictures. Comparisons are deadly to a relationship. Resentment, something else that a lot of times I find when I meet with couples, that resentment has been there for a long time. They're not resenting their person for something they did 3 weeks ago, for not taking out the trash, or they leave a mess. That's not, they get frustrated, those are annoyances. But resentment is that deep, deep anger that we keep kind of burning like a coal oven. Is that a thing? Coal? A slow burn. Resentment is that thing that we keep hidden because we keep going back to it. We keep rehashing the hurt that we felt. Maybe it's something that happened in year 2 of your relationship. Maybe it's something that happened in year 11 or year 8. Maybe you are feeling it and you've been married for 25 years. You feel resentment. Resentment can come from things like maybe somebody cheated. It could be that somebody spent a lot of money that was meant for something else. Maybe they made a major decision like, we're going to move across the country or to different states and take you away from your family and your friends. There are so many reasons why we have resentment towards, or why resentment can even start to grow in a relationship. If as while you're watching this, you're thinking, oh boy, that resonates with me. Here's my how-to, because I like to give you tools and how-tos on how to deal with that. If you are identifying with the fact that, yes, you spend a lot of time comparing your person or your relationship with someone else's or other people's, many people's, or you're resonating with the fact that, yes, I feel resentment. I just can't let go of the fact that I'm so mad at them for fill in the blank. And it was 18 years ago or 5 years ago. I can't let it go. Here's what I am going to encourage you to do. You need outside influence. Okay? If we entered into relationships with somebody pulling us aside and saying, let me read the fine print to you, guess what? In 2 years, 5 years, 18 years from now, 25 years from now, you're going to be in this relationship and you're going to be angry, you're going to be sad, you're going to feel lonely, you're going to be miserable. Would you have signed on the dot? No, none of us do. None of us would. If we knew that, we all go into relationships not just hoping, but expecting it to be good, to be great, to fill us up, right? We all do that. So here's the thing. We are meant to be in relationship. We are meant to be in thriving relationships. Otherwise, it's not worth it. If you are in a mediocre relationship, it's not worth it. Now, let me be clear, because somebody's going to take that and say, see, that means I should hit the road. Nope, that's not what I mean at all. We are meant to be in thriving relationships, absolutely, and I am pro marriage. I am so for your marriage, even when something has gone wrong, even when something has been majorly broken, because I believe, and I have seen it over and over again, it can be fixed, not just taped back together, but it can be fixed in a way that it's thriving and good and whole again, and even better than it was. I have seen it over and over, and that is what I believe, and that's what I promote. What I'm talking about is that if we know that before we get into that relationship, it's going to turn sour or not good, or it's going to be mediocre or less, it's better to just not enter into relationship, It's better altogether if we never even entered it, because who wants to be in mediocrity, right? None of us do. But when we've already entered into it, don't stay there. Don't stay there. That's what I want you to hear me say. Don't stay in it. Do something about it. That's when, and that's what I'm here to tell you today, that's when we need outside influences. If you're resonating with the fact that, yes, I do a lot of comparisons, or maybe my person does a lot of comparisons, or I feel a lot of resentment for something that happened 6 years ago in our marriage or 10 years ago in our marriage, I still feel really angry. If this is resonating with you, I'm moving the camera. There seems to be a lot of activity here. If it's resonating with you, get some outside influences in. Here are some options for that. Number one, maybe it's not that big, and the two of you can commit to reading a book. There's lots of free resources out there. Get that. Number two, you need to have someone, a third party, who loves you and cares about you freely. Meaning, you don't have to pay them, but they are neutral, they love you, and they care about you, but you need a third person who can help you and your person talk so that you hear each other, and talk so that it's productive. So you might need to get an outside person in that way who freely loves you. If you don't have that, then I would encourage you highly to get someone that you pay, whether it's a counselor, a relationship coach, someone who can sit and be a neutral party, and who can listen, and who can love you, and who cares about you and helps you communicate and move forward to a thriving relationships, who gives you those tools. That's what you are going to need in order to get yourself out of a place where you're finding yourself doing a lot of comparisons, or that there's still some unresolved resentment in your relationship. This has been a little bit of a tough conversation, but relationships is something that you guys asked me to talk to you about, and here it is. I am always here, so you can private message me. We're going to talk more about this on Thursday in our Facebook Live, so please tune in. I want to hear from you, and you know what? Others that come to that Facebook Live could probably use your insight, your questions, your input, your encouragement. So tune in Thursday night, 7:30, Facebook Live, with just me in the private group Connections and Purpose with Michelle. Guys, I love you, and I'll see you next week.